I think so. Oh man.
There we go. Okay.
right.
Everything has to start with a severe technical difficulty. What's up, guys? Guys and gals, Pete here from Hath, and Pete here from Replicant. My good friend Pete is here from Replicant. They just put out a new album earlier this year, Malignant Reality, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the album, we're going to talk about gear, and we're going to talk about being old death metal men who have been in bands for way, way too long. So, let's get right into it. Well, first off, chat, let me know. Music too loud, music too soft. Pete, say hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you
First
for coming.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, I've had this idea for a long time, just like have casual streams with my friends who are also in disgusting death metal bands, and I'm very happy you're the first one. It's a lot easier to talk to you than someone I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean we have known each other for a very long time.
Yes, yep. So, let's get right into it then. Who are you and what do you do? Give us that elevator pitch.
I am a Pete as well. I am also a guitar player. Yes, been playing guitar for a long time. Been in a bunch of death metal bands, some hardcore bands, some punk bands, and yeah, just a overall musical man.
The overall musical mountain man.
That's right.
So, yeah, like I mentioned, Malignant Reality. Let's just get right into it, I guess. Malignant Reality came out, it dropped what, early October, if I'm remembering right? Or late September?
Early September.
September. I was a month off. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all the same. I don't know. It's like the last 2 years is just like a blur. Who the hell even knows anymore?
What a perfect segue. So, yeah, last 2 years we've more or less been locked up indoors, and anyone who's been in a band knows it takes at least a year or two to write and record an album. So, how did you guys manage writing during COVID and then recording during COVID?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean everything was going great up until February. We were playing shows. We were, slowly writing the album. I'd say we had maybe 2 or 3 songs kind of fully written before like the lockdown started. And then yeah, I mean, as soon as lockdown started, everything got canceled. Had nothing to do. So let's finish the album.
Yeah.
So pretty much wrote the whole album during like I'd say like March to like June of last year, or last year, and then just hit it in the summer. As soon as like there was like kind of like I guess like last summer when there was like a nice lull, that was when we were like, okay, we got to strike and kind of like try to have it done by then so we can record before the winter months.
Wait, so you said 2 songs prior to everything shutting down, and then the rest from March to June. And correct me, there were what, 9 tracks on Malignant Reality?
I think there's 10 actually.
10.
Yeah.
All right, that is a stupid amount of songs written in a very, very short time.
Yeah.
Speaking of as someone who writes like maybe 2 songs he's happy with a year. A lot of songs I throw out, but yeah, that's really impressive. So when you were writing all this, between what's that, a 4 or 5 month period, was it entirely remote? Did you guys meet up? Like how did you manage that?
All remote. Yeah. So I'd say there might have been a few like ideas floating around that weren't like, so it wasn't like totally 8 brand new songs. But I'd say like at least 5 of them were like totally from scratch after the pandemic or after the quarantine started.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean the way we kind of work is so now as of a few weeks ago we're a 4-piece.
Yes, I saw that. Congrats on the addition.
Yes. So now 2 guitar players, Itai Karen from Windfair and Afar and a bunch of other sick bands, has joined. But before Itai joined, when we were, still a three-piece, Mike and I have well, I guess Mike actually writes most of the scaffolds of the songs. So Mike will come up with a lot of the initial riffs and the song structures. He's like a machine. He'll just like all of a sudden, like you'll wake up one morning, he'll be like, "Bam, song's done."
Yep.
And like 2 weeks later, it's just like, "Bam, here's a new song." And it's like Mike will send over like that kind of song and with like a pretty good structure, and then we'll kind of go back. I'll go in there and then kind of like skronk it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start adding the weird chords and make, kind of like doing a little, just like making it a little weirder, and then adding in any of the weird like noises and effects and pedally stuff. So there was only like one song on the album that was like I wrote the whole song, and then Mike wrote most of the other songs.
So not entirely. He didn't write the entire songs by himself, but he was like a big driving force behind this album.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
There was, I think there was 2 songs that he wrote like straight up by himself, and like he sent them over, and I was like, "We're not changing anything." I was like, "Ship it."
And is that typically how you guys work? Like, he'll create a structure, and then you'll just jump in when he feels pretty good about it and like gross it up? Or, past time, it's like 50-50 split?
Well, yeah, I guess in the past, in the before times, it was a little more organic, just because we would write some more songs to practice, or we would come to practice with not full ideas, but we can let each other kind of like work on them. The first EP and Negative Life was more collaborative like that, and then the one EP we did, the Hypochondria one, actually most of it was written, well, the one song was written fully in this, like just like jamming in the space, and then Mike wrote one of the other ones. But yeah, so it's kind of a combination.
Okay.
It's
nice.
like, yeah. And then there's like 1 or 2 songs like every time that I just write, and then we'll kind of like play with it. But generally it's like Mike is the one that brings the foundation.
Yeah. So since it sounds like pretty much entirely written separate. Like, I assume you collaborate online. Safe to say, he'll send you ideas, you send him back, and vice versa. But you guys more or less didn't write this album in a room together.
Oh, not at all, yeah.
How much rehearsal did you have prior to recording?
Also nothing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy because it was COVID time. So like, we couldn't really meet up. So it was just like, tab everything out. Like, we don't use Guitar Pro because we're like total idiots when it comes to that. So it's just like, it's all in like a Google Doc with just like tabs written out like, by hand.
Oh, wow.
And and we would do like essentially just like Google Hangouts or Meet or whatever. And he would just show me, it's like he would tab out like the wiggles. And I would learn all the wiggles, and then we would do like a meet for like the chunky riffs, and then I would show him like some of the chords I was coming up with, because I recorded all the guitars on the record, so he didn't really give a shit what I played ultimately. Like I didn't have to like teach it to him,
right?
But he had to teach me like the wiggles,
so
because he's like the king of wigglies.
Okay, so that's kind of surprising to me, because listening to Malignant Reality and your older records too, the EPs, the Split, and Negative Life, those wiggle riffs I feel like I've heard before at dystrophy practices. Like when we would just stand around just like farting around, everyone just making noise and waiting for someone to go, all right, let's actually do something. Right. There's so many of those like little wiggle riff moments where I'm like, I've heard this before. This sounds like something I heard like 10 years ago. And that's mostly Mike.
Well, there was probably some of those wiggles that you're referring to on Negative Life.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a few that were probably leftover dystrophy songs, or like ideas that just never got like, turned into a song.
Mm-hmm.
But the Malignant Reality stuff, like I'd say he's like most of the wiggles, like 80% Wiggleman, yeah.
Wiggleman. So
he's a groovy boy.
So you wrote separate, you rehearsed separate, or you practiced the album separately, not as a band. Did you have a moment, or did you have like a practice at all prior to recording where you were in the same room, like just to hear what the songs would sound like, or was the first time you really heard them together while you were recording? That's wild.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude. Yeah, so yeah, it was like the situation we were in, like right up to recording, was like James, our drummer, was like living with his in-laws, and he was like, it was still kind of like we didn't really know like what was going on, and it was still kind of scary time. So it was like he didn't want to take like any chances, which totally makes sense. So we didn't like meet up at all. Yeah, so like really like the first time we even heard the songs with drums was like while we were recording drums to the scratch guitar, and then we would play the the drum track back with scratch guitar, and then it's like, oh, that's what it sounds like with drums.
That's
like
wild.
Yeah, it was nuts, dude. Because Mike's pretty good at like programming drums, so like when he sends over a song, it's like there's like drum tracks, there's bass. He records the bass too. Like he'll record like 2-side guitars, so it's like it's obviously like not what James is gonna play, but it's like a full song. So it's like it wasn't like totally devoid of like, or it wasn't like totally devoid of like what it was gonna sound like. But then James obviously played like totally different shit anyway. So it was kind of a crazy process.
I'm very familiar with that. Whenever I do anything, I've only recently really started trying to program drums to any of our scratch tracks or scratch songs, and it's more or less just blast beats for like 5 minutes straight, and any break from blast beats is like gravity blasts, and I'll send it to AJ. I'm like, this sounds great. He's like, this sucks. I hate this.
You're an idiot. Yeah.
So like I'm always really interested to hear about what that process is like, because guitarists are not drummers. Like we have really dumb drum brain. I'm like, all right,
exactly.
Just let me riff. If this is going to be a chonky part, this is going to be a fast part. We all know what that sounds like. And typically I've experienced drummers like, I have no idea what you want.
Yeah. It's just like, this is so stupid. just get this out of your head. This isn't what it's gonna sound like.
Yep.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, Mike's pretty good. Like some of the drum beats he, especially for Negative Life, some of the drum beats he came up with, like Maddie was like, yeah, this is sick. Like I'm just gonna play this. The robo drums we'd call them. But I'm like you. I'm fucking horrible at it. I just like make it sound like a fucking black metal song for like just like no like nonstop for like 5 minutes, and then it's just like they're like, can you just send it without the drums, please?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like okay, because like I bought the not Travis Ryan, whatever the drummer from Cattle to Cat has like a Easy Drummer like pack.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought that, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna make it so much better. And I'm just like, I still suck at using it, so.
I'm the same way. I've a few different sound banks, but like when you're trying to just drag and drop drum clips into a DAW, if they're recorded initially at like, let's say 100 BPM, and it's got kind of a fast swing feel, and you drop it in your 200 BPM DAW, it's now like the most inhuman machine gravity blasts going on. Yeah, I'm like, I've got my pre-made sound banks of, all right, here's 4 bars of just straight gravity blast with like maybe a China on the 1 and 3, and I'll just stretch that out for a whole song. I'm like, that's good. That sounds like a song.
Chip it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll slice it up and be like, the double bass could go faster or slower in this part, but everything else, don't touch it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
So yeah. So that was the process. Yeah, but it was crazy. It was just like so weird, like coming to recording day 1 and being like, I don't know what the hell is this gonna sound like. Like it's just like, here we go. Like we literally only played 2 of these songs before as a group, and so 20% of the record was, or 80% of the record was just like.
Right.
I think it's gonna sound sick, but who the hell knows?
Right. Yeah. At that point, it like almost makes sense, in retrospect, to have Guitar Pro, because like, well, it sounds like a Casio keyboard, but we have an idea of what it'll sound like.
Yeah. Right.
That's funny.
So we did all the pre-production, like we did all the click tracks and the tempo maps, and me and Mike spent a lot of time just like getting it ready, and then we sent him over to James, and James like practiced to him a bunch. So that was essentially the rehearsal for the recording, and then so then the recording too was crazy because again it was like we kind of like did it all over the place. So um, like if you end up looking at like the liner notes, it was like recorded in like Linden and New Brunswick and Jersey City and Clifton and like a bunch of places. So it was just like kind of like all over the place, kind of hodgepodge. But
Was it like
yeah,
specific instruments at a specific studio, or was it like James is in New Brunswick this week and he's going to be in Linden next week, and then Pete will be in New Brunswick this week and he'll be in Clifton next week, or something like that?
yeah. So it was like we actually did all the drums at James's in-laws house, so in like the basement. So Ben from Thank You Scientist and Winfair, he tracked the drums and the guitars. So it was just like a mobile setup in the basement with 16 inputs. Tracked all the drums down there over the course of 3 days, and then we actually went to Bobby's Frightbox where we recorded the very first Dystrophy demo.
That's right.
In the same room.
That small room. Wow.
Same room.
How's Bobby doing?
Exact room. He's good. He's great. Yeah. He's doing good. Busy, doing his thing. Still killing it. So I recorded all the guitars there, cause so before this, for like Dystrophy and for Wretched Host, and then all the Replicant releases up until this, I mixed and then like tracked and mixed everything.
Yep.
So this time around, I was like, I don't want to do shit. I just want to play guitar and not have to worry about like any of this crap. So I didn't end up getting away with it totally because I tracked Mike's bass and vocals, but I didn't have to mix it. So, but I was like feeling like real like I want to be a rock star. So I'm like, someone else is gonna record this. So Ben tracked the guitars at Frightbox, and then we did the vocals and the bass at Mike's house, and then I did like my solos and like some overdubs in Jersey City, because it was all like DI anyway.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the studio to do like the sprinkles, which is like all the pedals and the noises and all the other fun shit.
Nice.
And
You're stealing my questions. I had it all lined up, ready to ask you about. This is like the first one you didn't really do anything, but that's awesome. So on that note, though, a lot of sections of your songs and a lot of effects you use on your songs sound very improvisational. How much of those demo tracks were like start to finish, like we're doing this, and how much room did you leave for improvisation in the studio?
Yeah, none of those noises on the record were pre-written, so they were all improvised.
Like any idea, like I want it to like kind of hum and sound kind of low and spacey in this, and then it's going to shoot up real high, or is it just like let's go in there and what happens happens?
Yeah, what happens happens. It was like, it's like we have like little, in the songs there was, it was written for there to be like a Space Jam or like some noise or or just like something. And I had a pretty good idea like going in like what, just because I've been doing it for a few years with these pedals, so I kind of know what they all sound like. Of course, like right before I had to buy like 3 new ones, so I was like, well, let's get real fucking weird.
When you got the itch.
Dude, it's so bad. So, and like Ben is also like, he was like, dude, let's just go for it. He's just like, I'm down to sit here for like a few hours and just like mess around with it and see what we come up with. And yeah, so it's like we knew like there was going to be like these parts, and I kind of like had the idea originally in the beginning to like have like, almost the sounds that kind of permeate through the record, so it just gives that a little more cohesion.
Yeah.
Like a sense of just like it ties it together a little bit. But yeah, none of it was like premeditated. It was all just like, let's see how it comes out, and turn this pedal on, turn this one off, try this one, turn this one off, play with these knobs while we're recording it, see if that sounds cool. So yeah, it was all done on the fly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So since since you didn't really record too much, I mean, you did the DIs for the bass and you did vocals and the little sprinkles from Jersey City. Was there anything while working with Ben and Bobby that like surprised you? Like, did they have any approaches or any like techniques that they did that you were like, oh, that's a really good idea?
Nothing like so unconventional. So like Ben is like newer to like the engineering. He's like trying to like kind of get more into engineering. So he's been working with Bobby a lot. So, he's like killing it right now. He's like picking it up. He's like doing an awesome job. But like I guess there was nothing like totally like, oh my God, like I've never thought of that, right? But like, and then Bobby is like, he's been doing this for like probably like 15 years or whatever. And he is just like, he's a pro. Like he just knows exactly what to do. So we weren't even there when he mixed it. He just like mixed it, and like he sent us like the first like iteration of it, and we're like, oh my God, dude, it sounds so sick. It was just like, I knew it was gonna sound sick because he did the last EP we did, the Hypochondria one.
Yeah.
Or like not the last one, because the last one was the split with the 4-way split, but he had done the Hypochondria EP, so he knew we were trying to sound just like that. Like we wanted it to have that same sound. So he kind of already knew what we wanted it to sound like, so we didn't really have to like sit there and explain it to him or, like go over it with him. And we're just like, yeah, make it sound like that. And he's like, okay.
So what was that? When you said make it sound like that, did you have like a reference in mind?
Oh, just like the EP that we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So, by the way, chat, if you have any questions for Pete, just drop them in the chat. I should have let off with that. Let him know.
Come on in. Yeah.
He's a friendly guy. He'll talk to you.
Very personable.
Yep. All right. So, feel pretty good covering Malignant Reality. Great record. By the way, chat, if you haven't, check it out. I think it's playing right now. Yeah. Rabid Future's wrapping up.
Woo!
This is definitely getting muted and claimed all up and down. So I'm recording it separately. Anyone who missed like the first, I don't know, what are we, 20 minutes in now? It'll be on YouTube later this week. So let's talk shows. So little backstory for anyone who's unfamiliar. Pete and I were in a band called Dystrophy together from like roughly, what would you say, 2007 to 2015-ish? That's when we were pretty active?
I'd say 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I can't remember the end.
Yep. It was just kind of like, we have different bands now. But a lot of what we did in Dystrophy followed a very like DIY ethos. We played a lot of basement shows. It was a lot of like, well, none of us have any money. None of us really know what we're doing, but we're just going to figure it out and make it work. So compared to how Replicant has been playing shows, you've gone on tours, you've played much bigger venues. You are, by comparison to what we were back then, a much, much more polished band. You're a well-oiled machine. What would you say are some of the biggest differences in how we operated then versus how you guys operate now?
It's a good question, Petey.
Thank you.
I think we've just been around for longer and we know more people, so it's like people want to do, they like want to help us out or they want to do shows for us because we've done shows for them in the past. And, again, like just being more established and like being on a label. So like, even though like Dystrophy, we ended up being on Self-Made God at the end, the Polish label, but that was mostly like a distribution thing, right? So it's like when Replicant started, we signed to PRC, which was a label based in Quebec. So they were already like, let's do some tours. Let's get you over to Canada. Like we'll set it all up, so like they like helped us out with all of that stuff. Like Remy from PRC, like set up like maybe like 4 or 5 weekends. We did some festivals. We did like the 2-week tour across Canada. So that label helped. And then again, just from being around New Jersey and just like being in the scene for so long, I think, like me and Mike just had so many connections where people were just like, they really like Negative Life. So they're like, let's do this, let's do that, let's play these shows, let's do this weekend. Like, so I think that really I guess the longevity and just like being like a cool person and making friends, it always kind of like has has its benefits besides having nice, good friends.
Yeah, what was that saying? Don't be a dick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just not
Yeah.
being a dick helps you
Yeah,
out.
right? It does. Because people want to hang out with you and you want to hang out with them. And you're like, your band's cool, my band's cool, let's play some shows.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think also that now that we're like, we all kind of work full-time jobs and we're not like so broke, it's just like, oh, we don't have to just like also like cheap it, like we can just like, work, take some time off,
Yeah.
rent a nice van, and go for like a week tour. And, it's like pretty cool.
Right, you may be spending all your like yearly vacation PTO on the tour, but you can actually afford. So if you come back breaking even, you're like, that didn't suck.
Yeah, it was a fun vacation with my friends.
Nice.
I got to pretend like being in a death metal band was my job for a week.
Yeah, that's always the best. So,
Yeah.
knowing what you know now, if you could go back, what is that? It'll be what, 15 years next year? So 14 years ago.
Holy shit.
When I walked into Stone Street and was like, "Hey, I play guitar. I'm here to like to jam and play guitar with you." And when Dystrophy started, if you could go back and like give advice to dumb young Pete and Pete, what would you give them? What would you tell us?
Pick a genre. I just remember in the beginning we just wanted to do this. Like every week it was like, let's sound like this, let's sound like that.
Yeah.
It's like let's be a power metal band, let's be a melodic death metal band, let's be a death metal band, let's be a skronky death metal band.
Yeah.
It took us a long time to figure out like what we wanted to do and like kind of like find our little niche. And it's like a bummer that like once we finally figured it out, we put out one awesome record and then that was that.
Yeah. That is a bummer. But like we could have had. It feels like 4 or 5 different bands, it's like separate bands over the course of Dystrophy's life cycle. But
Oh, totally.
like, let me know if you disagree. I feel like that was largely a product of. I don't want to say we were chasing trends, but like what was popular at the time. So, like if you remember, one of the first times we hung out, you like walked me through Jag Panzer's entire discography. Like for whatever reason, in 2005 to like 2008 or 9, power metal was huge. We're like, that sounds awesome. Let's do that, but let's not do so much the singing because we know this guy Greg who can scream really well.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
yeah, and then like death thrash, and you had that like neo thrash revival pop up. What was that? 2008, 2009. And we were like, wow, power metal's really lame.
It's just like, yeah, like all I was listening to like was Korn, like the thrash, like the proggy thrash stuff, like Corner and Toxic and
Yep.
Forbidden, and I was like obsessed with those Forbidden records for a minute.
Oh my
I
god.
think-
When we drove down to what was it? The Carolinas
Oh,
with the Throned
uh-huh.
Emperor. And the car they were driving only had a cassette deck, and the only cassette they had was
Forbidden Evil.
They
Forbidden Evil.
They listened to only that album for like 5 days straight.
Oh my god, dude. Oh, so funny. Yeah, but I think all right, so I think a big part of it was the time. So, 2005, it's like I'd say all of
weekly.
us. Yeah, I was gonna say like every other practice, one of us would go to Cinco, eat,
Cinco
like,
or
the
Crazy Burrito.
and get like the biggest burrito, and then just like
Yep.
slug out. But I think at the time, 2005, 2006, it's like because like death metal really went away in the late 2000 or the late 90s, right? It's like death metal kind of died, all the bands got dropped. Yeah, R.I.P. Oh wait, Cinco's gone?
Wait,
Or just because we haven't gone there in a minute? Oh my god.
I can't
But-
tell you the last time I was in New Brunswick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there in like a week or two, so I'm gonna do a flyby.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know how you got to do a taste test of Cinco and Crazy.
Oh my god, dude, crazy! I miss Mis Amigos too in Denali.
Yeah. So many good burrito places. I don't have a good burrito place anymore. I have
know.
a Bubba Coos nearby. That's pretty good, but It's a little
Some
chainy.
pieces are alright.
It's a little
Yeah, it's a little chainy, but yeah. So like death metal died late '90s. It's like goes away. New metal comes around. Internet kind of starts up. Napster, all that fun stuff. So it's like mid 2000s mid 2000. Whatever the aughts. It's like you get to college. It's like really there's like no like I don't know anything about death metal, right? Because all I know is like In Flames and some like other like mellow death stuff. They play out of like Headbangers Ball, right? That band Mercenary and Soilwork and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get to Rutgers and it's like DC and there's all this crazy ass music that you've never heard before. So it's just like it was just like bombarded with just like everything. It's just like, oh my God, there's this, and oh my God, there's that. It's like I've never heard anything that sounds like this before. It's like I'm coming from like the craziest shit I ever heard was Children of Bodom, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing like Gorguts, and like Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel, and I'm like, what the hell? So like, every few months it was just like all this other new like crazy new stuff, and then metal started getting popular again, and by like I don't know, like the 2010s, like 2011, it's like all of a sudden people like death metal again, and then all these bands are reuniting. Gorguts gets back together. Morbid Angel comes back. Cannibal Corpse, Atheist. You name like every single Florida band reunites because people care about death metal again.
Yeah.
So it's like we were right in that time where we were just like trying to like figure out all this new music and like parse it and figure out what we like and what we don't like. So it was just like it was a product at the time. Like we didn't really have a chance because there was just like so much shit. But now
it's kind of funny you say that too, because like you can almost track what Dystrophy sounded like against what we were into at that time. And it's funny you say like we were just inundated like trying to figure it out, because I agree completely. I distinctly remember you pulling up to pick me up to band practice, and you're like, check out this album, I just got it, it's fucking bananas. And it was the first Winter Sun album. And hearing that, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, it's so fast. The solos are so insane. And this is still kind of power metal, but it's not. Like, it's also death metal. And then second moment that sticks out of my head is when you discovered Gorguts Obscura. That, I feel like, was like the linchpin for Dystrophy. It was like, nope. Get rid of all that other shit. This is what we sound like now.
Yeah. No more melodies, no more power chords, only just like disgusting noises. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was just, again, like every time it was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then this is so cool. And it's just like, literally just like finding all this new stuff out and being like, what do we actually want? What do I like? And what do I want to sound like? Whereas like now it's like if you're a kid and you pick up a guitar or drums or whatever, and you want to be in a band, there's like literally anything you could think of is right there, right? So you probably already know what you like. Oh, I love grind. Oh, I love death metal. I love dissonant death metal. I love black metal. I love power metal. So it's like, but at the time I was just like, I don't fucking know what any of this is. This is all new to me.
Yeah, I mean, you could turn on a Spotify radio or a YouTube playlist for a few hours and encounter like every single genre under the sun.
Yeah, totally. And just like even under death metal, there's like 30 different kinds of death metal now. So it's like, and again, it's like, it was just I would have gone back and be like, just stick with one, pick one and just like get good at it and like stick to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also too, I think it's like if I had to go back and kind of figure, like, talk to me, like sit me down, smack me, be like, fucking listen up. Definitely pick something, pick one sound, focus on that for this band. You can be in more than one band. Yeah, you don't have to make your one band every band. But also too, like, actually pay attention to what you're playing. So like back then, I don't know if you remember when we were recording with Jones, like a lot of the people around us had no idea how to record anything. It was like, all right, I might have a tape deck, or I might have like the new cell phone that had a decent mic, but you might have one or two friends that had an actual like interface with one or two mics. Like my advice to me back then would be like, look into that. Just pay attention to what's going on there, because that's gonna get really fucking important really quick.
Yeah, right. Jones had a FirePod and eight inputs, and it was just like, oh man, this guy can record a whole band.
Right. I mean, we did what? We did one full length and one or two demos with him.
We did. I think it was just. Oh yeah, I think it was the full length and then the Spiral of Silence EP.
Yeah. Did he do New Brunswick Death Metal Alliance, or was that you?
That was me. Yeah.
Okay. I remember one of those, him rolling up. He got off the train and he just had a rolling suitcase. We were like, where's your stuff? He's like, in here.
Yeah.
He had like 2 monitor speakers, his interface, a laptop, and all of his cables and mics just in a suitcase. He's like, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, that was when we recorded at my old apartment, remember? We
Yeah.
like sat in the living room. We sat in the living room and did all this.
I remember doing
Oh my
guitars
God.
in like a leaking basement. And it sounds like that too. It just sounded like mud. But like back then too, our first recording ever, I think, was just a practice where someone stuck a mic in the middle of the room. We were like, we'll see how it sounds.
Yeah.
And
It was.
that outside of like one of the early versions of Guitar Pro, that was the only way we could actually like play back and hear ourselves.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like, oh my god, I can hear myself back. It's like, this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. It's like, besides like having like an 8-track, or like literally like just like a cassette player with the microphone hooked up to it.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Times are changing.
Yeah. It's moving too quick. Haven't recorded bands for a little bit. Do you think that experience affects how you write or how you approach a recording session when you're going with someone else like Frightbox? That's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. I think the experience affects how you write or how you approach a recording session. No. Only because I guess like, that is a really good question. I mean, I guess like the way, even like back when we recorded ourselves, it's like, it's like you have all the songs laid out, you have the structure down, at least like for me, it's like I know like what my amp sounds like, right? So like I know kind of like what I'm going for and what I want it to sound like. So as long as like, like when we did the reamping for the album, like I sat there with Ben, so for years and years, I only used like that 5150 to the 2 version. Sold it a few years ago, got the Engel Fireball 100 watt. Love it, right? I've just been obsessed with that amp for like years.
Oh man, you sold your 5150 right before the height of the market.
I know.
Those things are going insane right now.
I know, such a bummer. I sold it for like $600. I bet it's probably worth over $1,000 right now.
Easily double.
But yeah, oh my god. But yeah, so it's like I have the sound. It's like I know what it sounds like. I kind of have an idea of like, what I want it to sound like. And when I recorded bands too, it's like I never really did a lot of like death metal bands. Excuse me. Besides like Dystrophy, and I think that's really it. It was mostly like punk, hardcore. I did a few other metal records, but my whole thing was like, I'm not like super like OCD about like quantizing and everything being on the grid, and like I like a little more like a live feeling. So I always kind of write that way also, where I want it to be a little looser. So like, Malignant Reality and Negative Life was very loose, but like Malignant Reality, even though it is like, it was all pre-pro'd out and there's tempo maps and stuff, like it wasn't like quantized or anything. And then, it's like a little loose also, right? Like purposefully, just because wanted to give that kind of style. So, I think like taking that style into Frightbox, I think like since Ben tracked it and he knows me and Mike really well, like he kind of knows what we were going for. And then same thing with Bobby, having worked with him in the past, we were able to kind of convey that. And then, in terms of like how I wanted everything to sound, I kind of had that idea in mind. And then, we kind of worked to get that from the amps and stuff.
And there's something there that you said, I think, I just want to like kind of pick on a little bit and highlight, because I think it's really important. You said, you have your click tracks, you have your pre-pro, but you leave it purposefully loose. And that's something I feel like for me, I've had to learn very much the hard way. After years of just like, again, that DIY, we had a very like punk mentality to death metal, which doesn't always mesh very well. Expectation wise.
It depends what kind of death metal.
Right, like, and especially basement punk. That's a whole separate beast to any like punk hardcore. That's extremely loose, extremely like you kind of feed off the energy of the band and the room, and you're feeding off each other. Versus what I've had to learn. I'm sure you remember earlier on when I was like really Guitar Pro, like gung ho. I was like, I'm gonna write the craziest things in Guitar Pro, and we will learn how to play it.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
Unlearning that has been very beneficial for me, but very difficult in the sense of like now I'm writing songs that make sense. Like they make more sense to play. They make more sense as songs themselves. But I think what you said about it leaving it purposefully loose is important, especially for your style of music. Replicant would be a very different band if, you and Ben sat there with an array of delays and reverb pedals. Like, no, on, the third beat, I have to spike the rate on this delay up, and then I have to hit this button. We have to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, I messed it up.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I don't know, music isn't supposed, at least for me, it's like, it's not supposed to be that mechanical, It's not like that precise. It should be a little more organic, and like just more like a feel than, it's like you almost want to just do it on the analog pedal and not like look at it and not see what's happening on the computer. And then if it sounds sick, then it's like go with it, right? But if it sounds dumb, even if it's like, then it's like, just try it again. But yeah, the last song on the album, the Ubiquity of Time song, which is like the longest one. So I wrote that whole song. But it's like the beginning, like all the clean guitar is not played to a click. It's just, I just played it like the way it is. And then, once that was over, we faded it out and then started like the rest of the band. And there's a few riffs in there where I specifically turned off the click track. And me and James, when we recorded it in the basement, I was playing the guitar with him while he was recording it. And I'd be like, and like, I was like, I was literally cueing him.
Yeah.
For like the transitions, and then the whole noise part at the end.
You're conducting as you're recording.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So, and then like there was like a pedal. There's like one part specifically where it's like totally off the grid. I was kind of cueing him, and then there was like a phaser, like the Old Blood Noise Dweller pedal, which is like a phase repeater, and Ben would hit it and then play with it while me and James were tracking it to get the idea of like what, and like, so it was like I was conducting with James, Ben was hitting the pedal and like switching the knobs, and that's like how we were recording that track. So like, but like you wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, maybe you could, but like now when you listen back to it, it's like harder to tell, but it's like a lot of it is very, it's a little looser, but it's like feels very natural.
Yeah, well, so that's what I mean by like purposefully loose, or what I'm trying to get at is, hearing you guys conducting each other. If it was James recording his drums and he's by himself, let's say, or just him and Ben, and he's kind of counting it off in his head, like, all right, I gotta wait 6 beats, and now I hit this cymbal, or it's like, all right, let's do a hard cut here because Pete's gonna do a whole thing, and then we'll just pick the drums up at the next spot and I'll splice it all together. It would be a very different sounding album. Like,
totally.
If you can be loose, you can be not to the grid and not to a click, as long as you're not to a click together.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right. You're all out of time, but you're out of time together, so you're all still in time.
Yeah, right. You're in some time. It just doesn't sound as awkward, But yeah. So I mean, again, that was just that one song. A lot of most of the rest of the album is like more, structured. But a desert island pedal for you.
That's a good segue.
Definitely this boy. This is the Old Blood.
You just got that.
I actually have 2 of these. This is my second one. So I just got the, what's it called? The Sunlight, which is their other kind of like repeater or like pad reverb. So yeah, the Old Blood Noise Dark Star is like my go-to. I love that pedal. It's like the craziest, spookiest like pad reverb that just like sounds like you're going, like you're just like drifting off in space, and that's it. You know, it's like that's it.
Slam.
So yeah, I have two of them. I have one on my main pedal board, and then I bought another one because I just love playing with it, and I just wanted to have it on my desk essentially.
The not pedal board one.
Yeah, because I'm like a sicko. So let's see. A pedal combination on the record that blew me away. I used the Earthquaker data corruptor, which is like an.
You've used that for a while, right?
I
feel like we've talked about it.
I bought it for the recording.
Okay.
Maybe like 2 months before before we recorded. So the data corruptor is kind of like an octave, just like a wacky octave. Like you can just like weird intervals, weird octaves, just like this kind of weird. I don't know. Just it's bizarre. It's a bizarre pedal. So that, and then the Old Blood Noise has a pedal called the Reflector, which is like a warbly chorus. So it's like when you put the warbly chorus with the kind of like polyoctave data corruptor, just like it makes the coolest. Those two together makes just like bizarro noises, and that's like all over the record.
And then you throw an insane whammy dive on top of it,
and it's just like yeah. And then the other one is the Dark Star. I use that with the Earthquaker spatial delivery. So the spatial delivery is kind of like an auto wah, but it like if you set it on like this one mode, it just kind of like acts as almost like it makes like kind of like a techno beat or like this kind of like weird like electronic beat. And it's like if you make that weird electronic beat with the auto wah and then you do like this kind of like Dark Star pad reverb, it just like that's what makes that noise like at the end of the Ubiquity song. Or like if you've ever seen us live, like in between every song I hit those two pedals and it just like makes this crazy like you know, and just like the two of those together are just like chef's kiss. Boop.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of like a 1980s sci-fi movie where it's like where they didn't really know what future science sounds would sound like. So they're like, you know, let's just hit a bunch of keys on a keyboard into a synthesizer and see what happens. You know, let's arpeggiate it a bunch of times.
Oh yeah, gotta have the arpeggiation. But yeah, dude, all the Old Blood Noise stuff I'm just obsessed with. It's like the Dark Star, the Sunlight, the Dweller is all over that record, which is like the phase repeater. Mm-hmm. The what's it called, the Reflector, which is like the warbly chorus. Yeah, so good. They make amazing stuff.
And so, I mean, you just bought that one pedal. So is the plan when shows really kick off in full gear again, you're gonna run all those into your live rig?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been like setting up. I've just been like playing like pedal board, man, for the last few months, just like getting ready. So I think I was telling you about this on Discord, but it's like I ended up. So like I used to just run all the pedals like in the front of the amp, like a dum-dum, and what? Because like for some reason when my old 5150, like the FX loop just, I don't know if the FX loop just sucked on my amp or my head or in general, but it always sounded like ass. So I always ran it through the front. So when I got the Fireball, I just kept going through the front. And then when we recorded Malignant Reality, Ben was like, you got to run it through the effects loop. And I was like, no, trust me, I hate the way it sounds. He's like, no, trust me, it's going to sound sick. So I was like, all right, whatever. So we did it, and of course it sounded great. And I was like, wow, he's so smart. Like, why haven't I been doing this whole time? So what I ended up doing was now I have two pedal boards, and like I have one for the front of the amp and then one for the effects loop. So front of the amp's got like the overdrive and the noise gate and a tuner, and I think my like the foot switch for like the clean dirty for the head, and then the back has got all the fun time based pedals. So I got like all the Old Blood stuff. I got the what's it called, the Earthquaker data corruptor and the Rainbow Machine, which is also really cool, and the spatial delivery, and then I have a TC Electronics flashback. Which is like my favorite delay. It's like the big one. It's like it takes up like a third of the pedal board.
Is that the big
but
blue
it's like,
one?
Oh yeah, you remember? I've
Yep.
had that one forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So that TC Electronics flashback is so sick. It's the best sounding delay I've ever used.
Yeah, that's been your staple. I mean, I've seen you playing with that. Feels like for years now.
Oh yeah, I got that when we like probably before Wretched Host even came out. I mastered some
Yeah.
guy's record.
I'm thinking,
Something.
like, did I see that at practice?
Definitely.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible.
Like a buddy of mine I used to work with at Guitar Center, like wrote like a bedroom recording like 10 plus years ago, and he was like, if you master it, I'll give you this pedal. And I was like, deal.
Good deal.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I don't know when it happened, but like when we were in Dystrophy, I was like, pedals are dumb. I was like, I just want a overdrive, a tuner, and maybe the delay. And even the delay, it took me a long time to get. And I was like, pedals are dumb, right into the front of the amp, like just riff, 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 riff. And now I'm just like, I just want to make all the weird noises, and I want all the sounds, and like pedal, pedal, pedal.
That's funny. Like, my philosophy right now is I understand the importance. You have to have an overdrive in the front. You have to run any effects through the rear. And I play through an amp that has every pedal combination imaginable at your fingertips. And I'm still like, nah, I just need the one overdrive and the one reverb and the one delay.
Exactly.
Like, I want every option possible, but I really only need like 3 pedals. Maybe an EQ.
Yeah. I never. Well, I had an EQ back in the Dystrophy days. I think I used it more as like a lead boost.
Yep.
It was like that. It's like that MXR one. It was like it was like an EQ lead boost.
Do I have mine right here? Yeah.
You got it in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, it's still got the pedal board tape on the back. Ah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. My pedals are all my pedals are trashed. That's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I bought another Dark Star, because it's just like so like effed up.
Well, that's what's also been cool in like the last 5-10 years too is back in 2010 you didn't really have a lot of options. There was Boss, there was MXR, there were what was it, TC, I think. Yeah, TC was around, but
TC was around, yeah.
But like there were only a few like go-tos that, if you didn't spend a lot of time on message boards or like in the right place where people were talking about them, you didn't really know what to look for. And now there's so many different like boutique manufacturers.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like craft beer.
Yeah.
It's just like all of a sudden it's like when we were in college, it was just like, what are we drinking? It's like, I don't know, PBR or Miller Lite, right? And now
Right.
it's just like you go to a store and there's just like, every time you go there's like a million cool labels and all these new breweries.
Yep.
Right? And it's like same thing, like the pedal explosion. It's like all of a sudden there's this like, all these like sick little boutique pedal companies that are making like the coolest things, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's the internet, right? Maybe they can market it now, and it's like they can reach us because of like social media.
Yeah.
And all that other fun stuff, where it's like in the past they would have had to spend a ton of money to get advertising in like Guitar Player magazine, right? Or like how would they have got like their name out?
That's true.
So,
yeah.
like,
Outside of
so
like
it's-
being the popular guy on the message board.
Right. So yeah, but I mean, I think it's awesome. Like I'm always looking for like there's Caroline makes awesome pedals. Walrus Audio, I have one of the Walrus Audio reverbs, which I love. What's it called? There's the other one that makes that blooper that I really want to get, but it's like $800.
Is it
But-
called the blooper?
It's called the blooper. Yeah, it's like it's like a really beefed up looper that has like all these mods built into it, and it has like a USB input on it, so you can like download patches from the internet and like firmware updates, and it's like it's literally just more like a computer than it's like real like next level, but it's like $800. It's like more than like, I'm like, oh my god, it costs more than like most of my guitar, like a lot of my guitars.
Yeah, like that.
But
That's like in the ballpark of some of those really good Line 6 boards that have come out now.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like the neural DSP, like, all their cool, like, gas, man, it's the worst.
Where do you stand on digital versus tube? Has that changed at all?
No, I mean, like, shows, recording, always digital. Ha! Always do, yeah. I love that Fireball, dude. I think it sounds amazing. It's like the Fireball with like the bare knuckle pickups is just like, don't need anything else. But for like practicing at home, like I have the Gojira, like the archetype Gojira neural DSP.
Yep.
I think sounds great. It sounds so good. It's like, why do I need to spend like $1,000 on a practice amp? You know, it's like this thing sounds amazing, and it was $100.
It does sound really good. Like I use it for a lot of just like bedroom jamming. Just plug right into the interface. I don't have to worry about any of this or that. I don't have to worry about scaring the shit out of my cat and dog or waking my wife up if it's like midnight or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Imagine if we had it back then.
Oh my god, right?
Yeah, when we first started hanging out, I remember I had like a little Digitech like yellow pedal board. And I was like, it's got distortion, and I brought it, and everyone's like, this sounds terrible. Never bring this back. I was like, okay.
Dude, for sure. I had that like the kidney bean pod, like the first pod. Remember? Yeah. And I was like, oh my! I brought that pod everywhere. But it's like that was like you could literally put it on your desk, play in your headphones, and I was like, this is sick. And it sounds stupid. I downloaded like a South of Heaven like patch from like Line 6 in like 2005, and it was just like that's all I ever used. It was like this like janky like Slayer like Marshall JCM 800 tone.
I bought a Pod HD rack at one point just to play with it because I was like, it's got everything. It's got so many pedals and combinations, and I can run 2 amps at once, like in one input in like a stereo chain. Not understanding how to dial in a good tone at all. I was like, this sounds like shit. I'm gonna sell it. No, it was my fault. I didn't know how to dial a tone for shit. But like that was probably around 2009, 2010. No, 2010, 2011 maybe. And for how blown my mind was then versus what's coming out now, it's just insane. Like
I know,
especially the neural, like the DSP little board that they came out with. Like that thing
the Quad Cortex.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. There's so much in that little unit.
I know. It's like I want it so bad, but I don't even need it. It's just like so stupid because it's like I don't need this. It's like $1,500.
Yep.
It's just like, but I want it for no reason. But it's like I just told you that I love my half stack, and I use the Gojira thing. But it's like, why do I need this? And that's when I'm like, well, you know what? I'll just buy a new pedal instead.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like I've talked about this nonstop with AJ and Frank over the last few months. We've had this idea in mind that you ever just prepare for situations that aren't even on the table yet. So we were like, what if we got invited to play like a festival across the country? Just like 1 or 2 dates. We don't want to lug a ton of gear. Let's say it's backlined and we're just flying in, flying out. Boom. It's not on the table. We're not doing that. But what if? It's like, what if I just had like a suitcase pedal board that did everything? Like, do I need it? No. I don't need that.
Right.
But I want it.
It's like you're a prepper, It's like maybe the world is gonna what happens if like the power grid goes out, right? I have to have all this food and I have to have all this stuff, and it's like maybe it's gonna happen, probably not, but it's like maybe we'll get offered this like amazing fest in Europe, but if we do, I need to be prepared.
Right. I don't want to like rack up $1,000 in fees just to get all my gear over there.
Right. Or then you gotta use like some crap, whatever the crappy head that everyone uses at the festival, right? It's like everyone's using like this, like this Mesa Boogie dual rectifier.
I was gonna say an early 2000s dual rec with no overdrive in front of it.
Dude, I hate dual, like, they're the worst. Talk about things you can't get to sound good. Holy shit.
Oh my god, AJ's about to dive through the chat and fight you.
Oh my god. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot too. But whenever we were at Frankensound and we walked into a room that had a dual rec, I would just be like, "No, can we switch rooms, please? I hate this thing."
To be fair to that dual rectifier, it didn't stand a chance. We weren't equipped with the knowledge or the tools to make that thing sound good, and neither was every single other person that came through that studio that had to use it. That thing
Yeah.
had to have been so abused. How many weeks did we go in asking for one amp and they were like, nah, it's being repaired. Like
It's being fixed. Yeah.
there were dum-dums like us every half an hour just abusing those amps.
Yeah. Plus the cabs they had were like trash.
Yes.
It's just like the cabs were so shitty. It was just like the speakers were so like blown out and just like decrepit, and so I don't know. But either way, I've never been able to get it like a sound out of like a dual rec that I've been like, yeah, this is sick. It's like I see one and I run for the hills.
Well, I know because I know my Triple X falls into the same kind of category of amps that won't sound good without something in front of it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to throw an overdrive in front of a dual rectifier or a Triple X, and you have to know what you want it to sound like, or else it's just going to sound like low-end farts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I guess like I feel like most amps, I've never like played on an amp that didn't benefit from an overdrive pedal, right? It's like, it just like sparkles it up a little bit, brightens it up, makes like, just like, brings out the clarity a little bit, the articulation. Like,
Yeah.
I always like the way,
Curves that- curves off that low end a little bit.
yeah. So it's like, I totally get it, but yeah, I mean, like, especially the Triple X, like, oh man, that thing. Yeah.
I recently got it repaired for the sole purpose of figuring out how to make it sound good.
Yeah. Did you figure it out yet?
No.
No, I don't think it's possible. Dude.
To be fair,
I hate that amp.
to be fair, I haven't given it enough time. I have a Horizon Devices overdrive. I'm like, I'm gonna make you work. I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah, right. It's like, you're gonna work. Yeah, I bought one of the Maxon 808s. Oh, I love that thing. It's
Nice.
so nice. Yeah, I got that in the Decimator for the noise gate.
Oh,
Because that's the other.
is that Fortin?
No, that's the Zool, I think. I forget who makes the Decimator. I think it starts with an I. I don't know, but it's like that's the only caveat. Oh, there you go, ISP. That's the only caveat, is that you need once you have like the overdrive in front, then you pretty much need a noise gate, because then it's just gonna sound like it's just gonna hiss like a maniac.
Yeah, and the Triple X is a very noisy amp, regardless of
man.
what you set it to. It's insane.
Oh, dude, the Fireball too. The Fireball with like the bare knuckles is just like hot as fuck. It's just like, what?
Well,
The
really high output too, isn't it? Like 200 watts.
Well, the head's 100 watts. The
Oh,
Fireball.
it's only 100.
Yeah.
I thought
But
it
I mean, it
had
still
like
gets-
a crazy power amp.
No, it gets pretty spicy though. Yeah, I love that thing. It's funny though, because like Mike is like the anti-gear man. He's been playing the same ESP like LTD 100 that's like that he bought, like his mom got him when he was like 18 or something. It's like he's got like one guitar and he only uses 5 strings, like he never puts a high E on it. So it's like so it's just got like 5 strings. It's like old as shit. It's just like decrepit as fuck. And he's just like, I don't give a damn, dude. He's like, I've just been playing this one guitar my whole life. He's
Dude,
like, I'm like,
I respect the shit
I
out
don't-
of that.
I don't know how one guitar guys do it. Like Dylan from Dylon on the Pylons from Piron. He just uses that same Jackson soloist, like
Yep.
the same Jackson soloist for like 15 years. And I'm just like, how do you not want to play another instrument? I
Yeah.
mean, more power to them, really.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, maybe it's us who have the problem.
Yeah, definitely. But it's nice because like, because Etai is a gearman. So now it's like I got another one at least, because he's just like, oh dude, what is this guitar, this pedal? He makes pedals too. Like he's an electrician. So he's just like, I want to make my own pedals. I'm like, you can make all the pedals and I will test them out for you.
Let me be your guinea pig, please.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, to answer the question though in chat, my favorite bare knuckle is the Nail Bomb. Love it. It's like kind of like a little hotter and a little more, I don't know, I guess like 80s thrash, or like kind of like thrashier sound. It's not as like kind of modern sounding as like the Painkiller or what was it? Oh god, Tomahawk? No, Warhawk? Something
Aftermath?
Hawkeye?
Oh, Blackhawk.
Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a Blackhawk in and Randy back there, I think I've fallen out of love with it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
high-end presence. Like I had when I did the guest solo for Dressed in Violence on the EQ for just that the tone I dialed in for a reference, I had to dial the treble down. I don't think I've ever had to do that for an amp. Just because the output was so like almost shrill.
Yeah. I feel like I've never played an Aftermath. I don't think so.
You wanna?
I had.
Come
Do you
on.
have one?
Yeah. The soloist I have on the wall, I put an Aftermath in it.
Oh, nice, dude. Yeah. I know the Charvel, the Model 4, like the Charvel that I played in Dystrophy.
Yep.
That's got the nail bomb. The two, I think one of the Vaders has a painkiller. No, actually, it might actually have an Aftermath. It's either an Aftermath or the Blackhawk. And then the other one's got the like stock Kiesel pickup, which kind of sucks. And then the other Kiesel has the what's that like? Oh my god, I'm totally spacing on the name. That other like big like pickups that everyone loves these days, the Fishman Fluence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, which I really like, but it's like that even. Ooh, the Aftermath is the best pickup for thick guitars.
AJ's always saying
That's
that.
a statement. That's a statement right there. I'm sticking by the nail bomb till I die. I love that thing. I want to. If I was like, what I probably should do instead of buying like 800 reverb pedals is just buy a bunch of nail bombs and actually put them in all the guitars. That would probably be more practical, but yeah. I gotta look it up. I actually might have an Aftermath in that Kiesel over there.
So for recording, which one of those is your go-to, or do you switch it up?
I use the Charvel, the old Dystrophy Charvel. So the nail bombs on one side, and then I use the new Kiesel, the Aries with the Fishmans on the other side.
Nice. So you get that kind of like that dirty sort of fuzziness of the nail bomb, and then you get like the more compressed, cleaner, tighter tone of the Fishman.
Yeah. And then I had like really fat strings on them, so it was extra thick.
Do you have a favorite among those guitars? Like, which one's your go-to?
Oh, I love the new Kiesel. The Aries is amazing. Oh my god, that thing is so nice.
It's beating out Bernadette.
It is, yes, Bernadette. It's supposed to. Only because Bernie, the Floyd Rose on Bernie is just so beat up that it's like, it goes. It's not like it goes out of tune more often, but it does go out of tune more often. But it's like, it's not like so bad, but it's like definitely, it's hard. Sometimes it can't like withstand all the whammy abuse. But the Kiesel is just like, it just takes it and just is like, no problem.
Especially for what you guys do. Like you're dropping almost full octaves on some of those whammy bends.
A lot of slammy whammies, yeah. But yeah, that Kiesel was so stressful, dude, buying that guitar. Because so now Kiesel has a really cool website where like you can like, but they didn't have that like a year and a half ago. So when I got that guitar, essentially got a nice payday. So like, of course, like any musician, I'm just like, cool, I'm going to spend it on a new guitar instead of like saving it like a normal person.
Yep.
So I always wanted to I had the two Kiesels already, but I always wanted to make my own, and I really wanted an Aries because I love the two-tone. I like the soloist body and the two-tone finish, and I love the reverse headstock. So I call up Kiesel. I'm on the phone with one of the guys one of their guys, and I'm just like, I had all the essentially like pieces picked out, and I'm like talking through it. I'm like, does this make sense? Like what is this? What about this combination? And like these are the color, like the kind of like dark walnuts. And I'm like, is there any way I'm gonna know what it looks like? And he's like, no. He's like, yeah, like it's gonna look like the walnut with the walnut and this and that. I'm like, well, what is it actually gonna look like? He's like, I don't know, you'll see it in a few months. And I was like, ah. So it was just like, oh man, like I just like essentially pulled the trigger on this like expensive ass guitar, and I was like, I have no idea what it's gonna look like.
I got to imagine that's got to be the closest thing to like that kid on Christmas feel you get as an adult. Like You get the delivery notification. Oh, we dropped it off, or like someone's got to sign for it at this time. You're just like, oh my god, what is it?
Oh my god, dude, yeah. Oh yeah, because like so I work from home, so like I knew like the day it was coming. I essentially just like plopped my laptop like right next to the front door, so I could just like essentially sit. I sat on the couch and was just like looking outside like all day. So like the box like shows up, I bring it in the house. I like cut open the box and I take it. It's in the case, right? So like I take out the case and I just like sat there for like 10 minutes and I was like, what if it sucks? I was like, what if it looks?
You didn't even open it yet.
No, I just sat there and like I was just like, what if it sucks? I was like, what if it looks stupid? It's like, what if I hate it? Like, what if I waited? Like, cause like I ordered it in January, so like right before the pandemic, so like January 2020, and then it came in like August. So like it was a solid 7 or 8 months. And so I was just like, what if I hate it? I waited 8 months for this crap. It's like this is like mad stressful. So when I opened it and I saw it and it looked like exactly what I was hoping for, I was just like, oh my god, this is so sick. I was like, thank fucking science.
I feel like Kiesel's the only like boutique shop I've seen that has a builder like that. I know for like Jackson and Fender, there's still the old method where like you either got to call them up or you got to go to a certified dealer, and you're more or less just filling out a worksheet, and you hand it in, you give them your check, and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty much the same process, except for instead of like filling in a worksheet, some guy on the phone was filling the worksheet in for me as I was like talking to him and like frantically looking at the website, being like, oh wait, do I want this?
Trying to find references. You're Googling Kiesel walnut, like trying to figure out what it might be.
Yeah. So the very first Kiesel I got, the Vader that doesn't have the tremolo, is like that same kind of Claro walnut. And it's like, I wanted a guitar that looked like that, but the Aries. So like, I kind of like had an idea. So I was like, if I just kind of make it look, if I pick a lot of the same specs, because that guitar I got on Reverb, but like the guy I bought it from like gave me the actual spec sheet with all like the part numbers and everything. So I was able to use that as a reference. So I wasn't like totally blind in that sense, but I still like had no idea what it was going to look like with the headstock and it's the two-tone finish. So I didn't know what like the other tone, I don't know. It was still like stressful.
Oh, I can imagine. But at the very least, too, I'm sure it was like a little bit comforting, like having the two Vaders. You had to have had like a sense of what Kiesel's felt like, at least on the neck.
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah. The neck's amazing on these things. It's so sick. It's so smooth and fast. It's almost like a soloist, like a really like a USA soloist. It's like Randy almost.
Yeah.
It's like real thin, shreddy kind of neck. It's not like the wacky Strandberg one that has like the in the back.
The trapezoid.
Yeah, and like the comparison, I used to have that comparison Horus.
Yep.
And that also had like a really weird kind of like.
I remember that it was almost like a baseball bat. Like that was a thick neck for a shreddy guitar.
Oh yeah. So like I knew the neck was like a nice fast kind of thin guy. So yeah. So that wasn't really anything to worry about, but either way, it was still like kind of stressful. It's like anything. It's like buying a guitar online. You don't play it, right? You're like, oh cool, this looks sick, but what if I get it and I hate it? And now I'm like, I spent all this money, I gotta send it back. I waited all this time. It's like such a bummer, but
Yeah, you took the plunge. It paid off.
Yeah, big time. But now I'm just like, and then I bought the Solar 8-string or 7-string. A few months ago, which is also very nice.
Yeah. I'm bummed when we went out with Burial in the Sky for that little weekender. They all play Solars, and I got talking to them about their Solars, how they got them, what they think about them. I never played it. Never like just waiting for Doris or anything. I was like, hey, can I try it out? I was like, I should have.
Yeah. I love them.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
I was going to say, they're still kind of hard to find. Like, they're not as common yet as, like, an Ibanez or a Jackson or something like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. I have the V, the 6-string V with the Floyd, and then I have the 7-string with the Evertune bridge. And I bought them both directly from Solar. But Solar has like a B stock, like like kind of like a blemish.
Yep.
Like part of their site. And it's like I bought the 7-string like blemish. It was like $250 off. And I can't even tell what the hell is the matter with it. Like, it looks perfect.
Someone just returned it like, I don't like it. They're like, well, it has
I don't
to.
know.
We have to B stock it. Man.
Yeah, pretty much. So
lottery.
Yeah, and the thing's great. I mean, the neck's a little fatter. It's more like a riffier guitar. It's not like it's like almost like the comparison or I'm trying to think like I don't know, not an Ibanez or a Jackson, but like it's still very comfortable to play. Yeah, and the Evertune bridge is sick. That was the first time I ever had one of those.
So can we expect 7-string Replicant songs on the next one?
I hope so. I had an old Agile 7-string from like a few years ago that I picked up like used on Reverb, and I gave it to Mike, and I was like, you should take this just in case you feel like writing a 7-string song. Because I was like, this is before Itai. I don't think he has any 7-strings, but we might be able to change that. But I was just like, yeah, like let's like because Mike loves like Korn, right? So he loves like 7-string, like that kind of like style, right? And there's like a bit of Korn on Malignant Reality anyway, like a little Korn influence kind of sneaks in every now and again. So I was just like, yeah, man, just like embrace it, just like let's see what happens. If we write something cool, then we'll use it, and if we don't, then back to the 6-strings.
Yeah. Nice. So what's next for Replicant? Malignant Reality's out. A lot of hype. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so we were gonna do some shows around like now, like fall, winter. Had some personal stuff that was going on, so we ended up not being able to play those shows. So then we were like, you know what, let's just take the rest of the year off, and then see what we're feeling and see what's going on with COVID. And up until like a week ago, things were looking pretty good, and now it's not. So who the hell knows? But got some plans for next year, for the spring. Got some plans potentially for the summer, in terms of like shows, maybe a tour or two. And then we actually, since Itai came on and he's got lots of cool ideas, I've been coming up with some ideas. Mike is again just like a maniac, and like just like wrote a whole song already. So we actually had 2 songs that we kind of wrote at the end of track. Like, so the Malignant Reality tracking ended up taking like 3 or 4 months. So like during those 3 or 4 months, like after me and Mike were done, we started working on new songs. So like we actually ended up having 2 songs that were fully written before we actually finished like recording the album. So then we had those 2 songs, and then we wrote a third one while we were kind of practicing before COVID got crazy again. And then Mike wrote another song, and Itai has a song. So I think we're just gonna go for another album right away. I think we're gonna try to get like an album written over the next few months, and then maybe record it next summer. Nice.
Damn. Super quick. You guys are efficient.
Keep it up. I mean, our songs are so dumb. It's like it's just like, yo, is this bounce sick? Yes. It's like, does it need to be scrunked up a little bit? Sure. And then it's like, so the one thing like you and I talked about, which is like, bands these days, you see so many albums, right? Where it's like 30 minutes, 8 songs, 30 minutes. It's like, man, it's so short. It's like barely a full length, right? Yep. So like, so many albums that came out this year are like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 32 minutes, right? 8 songs, 7 songs, 8 songs. So it's like, we were like, you know what? Like, Malignant Reality was like almost 50 minutes. It was like 10 songs. It's like, what if we did like a 35-minute 8-song run? So we might end up doing like a little shorter album, less songs. But we'll see, because we tried to do that for this one too, and it ended up being almost an hour, so.
So
who knows?
At least for me, one of the hardest things for me, just riffing and songwriting, is working within that framework. With just having an idea of like, here are my 5 or 6 chords. I'm only using these in this key or whatever, in this scale, and I'm gonna make my song. Like, I never do that. I'm terrible at it, which is, I think, a big reason why it takes me forever to write anything. And I think it's really interesting that you're going into this with that framework in mind. or at least like not like a rule, but like a goal. Like, we're not writing any 5-6 minute songs. Like, we're gonna make it short. We're gonna make it hit really hard, and we're shooting for 30-35 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there might be like a 5 or 6 minute song here or there, but it's like there's not gonna be like a 10-minute song like there was on this record. And then again, it's like, I don't know, sometimes going into it with like constraints is like kind of like, it seems like it's more daunting, but I think it actually kind of helps you stay a little more focused. And when you kind of go into it being like, okay, like I'm gonna try to stay in this like box, or I'm gonna stay in this kind of mentality. Like one of my like constraints is like no power chords, right? I'm like I never play power chords, right? So it's like, what kind of chord can I come up with that sounds like kind of like, big like a power chord, but a little weirder and a little different, So it's like I experiment a lot with the different shapes, right? So it's like no power chords. I try not to do a lot of I try not to do a lot of like conventional death metal stuff, right? Try not to do a lot of tremolo picking. Try not to do a lot of power chords. More like just like the kind of like Demolichy, wiggly guys, and a lot of like skronky voivod chords, and see what happens, right? So I feel like coming at it with some constraints, for me at least, like kind of helps me kind of get into it and gives me like a good starting point almost.
No,
and kind of keeps me focused.
I think that's a great point. Also helps keep your sound consistent album to album. So I think it's safe to say we shouldn't expect the next album to be Replicant's power metal album.
No, yeah, we're not gonna go down the dystrophy route, unfortunately.
Yeah, the backwards dystrophy. You started really disgusting, and then pulled back to like the pretty stuff.
Yeah, I want this record to kind of be like a Malignant Reality like extension almost, and then maybe after that one, I think we'll like once like Itai's really in it. So, and like really kind of like has his own voice in it, I think then we might try to like experiment with something a little different. But I feel like it would be fun to like do like another kind of like shorter, more focused like ass whipper, where it's just like in your face and like just like kind of like bounces you for like 30 minutes.
Make him respect New Jersey, or
exactly,
or prepare for combat. Nice.
You know it. Yeah.
So, I've got a few more for you if you can still hang.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so chat, this is your signal. If you got any questions for Pete, drop them in the chat. What were your favorite albums to come out this year? Give me your top 3.
Okay. I want to say first off that there was so many good albums this year. So one of my New Year's resolutions last year was to listen to more like new music in general, because sometimes I just get in a bad spot where I'm just like listening to the classics over and over again. So I was really, really trying to be open-minded. That being said, I love that Atrabilis.
Yes.
However, that record, which is totally
Apex
escapes
Sapien.
me. Yeah. So that is again 32 minutes. It's like 32 minutes.
That is so
8
short.
songs. Yeah, but it's like it just like you started and it's like it's over, and it was just like that was so. It was fast, but it was so good.
And also, it follows that rule that I've heard you say like a million times when we were playing basement shows. Leave them wanting more.
Yeah, exactly.
If we have a 30-minute set, play 25 minutes. Like we don't need the full 30 minutes. Play 20 minutes. And that I agree. That record does it. Like it ends, and I'm like, wait, where's the rest of it? Keep going.
Right. I'm just gonna listen to it over again. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one was a big one for me. Let's see. I loved the new Obscura record. After like listening to it a bunch of times, I'm just like, this record is awesome. It's like, it took a little while to get into it. At first, I kind of hated his vocals. I was like, this is like some weird kind of like Thomas Lindberg, kind of like, Swedish like melodeath kind of raspiness to it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just like, I don't even care anymore because the music is just like so good. It's like catchy, the catchiest tech death I've ever heard.
It is definitely, I'd say, more straightforward in how it's composed. Like, not that there's anything wrong with like a standard song structure kind of format, but I found compared to Diluvium, and especially what was before that?
Acroasis, which you hate.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that album, and I think because the songs at least for me, were very all over the place. The very, very complex sort of structure versus this new one. I'm like, okay, this is more digestible. Like it's it's easier to follow what's happening.
You can tell that they were like, okay, we want to try to break out into more of a mainstream metal audience. We're gonna write like more accessible, a lot of hooks, more like conventional song structures, you know. But it's still like noodly as hell, and it's like still really complicated and techy, right? So it's like they didn't lose that.
Yeah, we're gonna take the leash off Kristen Munster and just let him go.
Yeah. So I was all about it. I've been really into that one. Let's see. There's a few other ones like the Inoculations record, Celestial Putridity was awesome. Discord, that band from Norway that's on Transcending Obscurity, Degenerations, really weird, super out there, skronky death metal. I love it. Another Transcending Obscurity band, Veilburner, had a Lurker in the Capsule, was just very sick. That Sapidus record, that your Willowtip boys.
Yes, that's Doug Moore's, right? Doug Moore from Piron?
Yes. Yeah, it's Steve from Piron.
Oh, it's Steve from Piron.
He's like, well, Doug's in it too. Doug does vocals, but it's like Steve writes all the music. He plays guitar, drums, and then Eric plays bass. So it's like it's like 3/4 Piron. I love the Sepidus record, also because I had a little guest spot on it. But I mean, there was so much good shit. That Sunless record that just came out, that's also on Willowtip was fucking awesome.
Yulem.
And
I don't know how to say it. It's YLEM.
Yulem. Yeah. Yeah, that was great. The Portal record. There was so much good stuff, man. Yeah, them slaps.
Yeah, like that's.
Oh, and the Unto Others.
I haven't listened to that yet. It's on my short list of things to listen to, but every time I sit down and I'm about to hit play, something comes up. I'm like, oh, I'll get to it later. And that's been about an 8-month process at this point.
Dude, it's so good. I was obsessed with the first one with Mana, and this one came out, and it's a little darker. It's not as catchy right off the bat. It's definitely like a grower, not a shower, but it is so good. It's so good. It's not as good as Mana, but it's really good. They're doing like the goth metal, like
I've heard it's heavier than Mana. Like I heard it described as how does a band get heavier on their second album and still stay as good?
Yeah. So, okay, that's a great question. I never used an HM2 pedal. Literally, I've never used it. I've never even messed with it. I probably have. When I had the bias effects, I probably had, there you go. I probably had a crappy fake HM2 that I could have put in front of the head, but I don't know, man. It's I feel like Replicant would sound so weird with the Swedish, with that kind of buzzsaw style, right? I don't know.
I'll admit I rely on AJ pretty heavily for tones. So what I play through live is just a profile of our amps when we record it. As soon as the tone is good to go for recording, I'm like, all right, profile it, because that's what I'm using live. It's going to sound like the album. I don't want to have to worry about recreating it later. And we ran a Horizon Devices into a Lone Wolf Audio Bloodbath pedal, or the other way around. And getting this thing to sound like that is very difficult. Again, maybe it's the PV-XXX. Maybe I'm not working with maybe I'm not working with the best hardware to begin with, but it is a very noisy pedal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel for Replicant style, it might not make any sense, but it would be funny to do a song with it just for shits, really. I mean, but at least just to see what it sounds like.
You could scoop the hell out of it. Just dime all the knobs and just make a real slammy song, and it'll just sound like hardcore Bloodbath.
Yeah, which I love.
Every hardcore band is worshiping South of Heaven right now. You can make that transition, take one, dip a toe into the hardcore scene and be like, all right, well, we're gonna do that, but with Bloodbath.
With Bloodbath, yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I feel like hardcore bands also love Entombed and Dismember. Like they love that Swedish, like, you know, buzzsaw style.
Yep.
So like there's definitely that like is a thing in the hardcore. Like they know about that.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of death metal bands, like bigger up and coming death metal bands now, that are known for that HM2 buzzsaw, that are kind of moving away from that OSDM sound into more of that like chunky, chuggy, not quite hardcore, but less just straight up old death metal noise.
Right.
Like
That's like kind of, yeah.
Like
yeah.
Gate Creeper, Frozen Throne, I was listening to the other day. I'm like, this is just like stompy, chunky riffs with an HM2 like dimed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those bands where, you know, they're like, that's like, you know, it's like if they had a different singer, they would be a hardcore band.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know, it's like it could be like Madball or like, you know, just like a tough guy hardcore band, you know, but it's like a death metal singer, so it's a death metal band and not a hardcore band. It's like a very fun, like the teetering.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a very fine line between death metal and like hardcore. Once that drummer starts like stops blasting and switches over to a D beat, it's a different game.
Yeah, or just like any kind of just like you know, just like funky kind of like.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah. There's like
one,
when I was in subs.
That 1-2 on the hi-hat snare.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, when I was in Subscum, it was the same thing. It's like, you know, they were like, yeah, we want you to just play like obituary riffs, you know, just like write like obituary songs. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, it was just obituary songs, but with the hardcore singer, and that it was a hardcore band.
Yep.
It's like, you know, that band Zabalba is a great example. I think they're awesome. I love that band. And it's like they're like a perfect like combination of that, like a kind of like melding of those two ideas. And they've been doing it for like so long.
I think you hear a lot of that too with Incendiary and Knocked Loose. Incendiary is closer to Zabalba, but Knocked Loose with more just that wall of sound, huge tone. Like, have you listened to their newer EP?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds monstrous, just production-wise, it's gigantic. But what I'm used to from hardcore bands, yeah, it's got the big beatdown riffs, it's got the faster kind of D-beat punk riffs, but the tone and the presentation of it, to me, screams death metal, which is very interesting.
Yeah, but a lot of those bands are like, again, they're just like, yeah, death metal's sick. I love death metal, but it's like we're a hardcore band, so we're just gonna write some of those death metal riffs and sing over it.
I mean, that's fine too. I love death metal too.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier, honestly.
Yeah. All right. So, 2021, weird year where a ton of bands dropped a ton of albums, but a lot of bands didn't. Are there any bands you're really hoping drop a banger next year?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, obviously the Guts. I feel like there's going to be a Guts record. There's going to be one more Guts.
They're supposedly busy. They've been doing something.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a Guts record, which I'm really, really jazzed for, obviously, because you know how much I love the Guts. I feel like there might be a new Atheist record, because I remember I listened to some interview with Kelly a while ago, and he was saying that they've been working on an Atheist record, like a follow-up to Jupiter, which is like, yeah, obviously 10 years ago. So fingers, yeah, I know, right, dude? If you listen to that record, it's, besides the production, which is like a little too, I don't know, modern-y, kind of Jason Sukoff sounding for like Atheist, that record is awesome.
I love that record.
It's so fucking good. So yeah, I'm hoping like from the old man bands, like an Atheist and a Gorguts record would be sick. Because I was so disappointed with the Cynic record. It was so bad. Oof. What a bummer. Yeah, there's this band called Hath. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. I think they're dropping an album next year.
Never heard of them. Keep going.
Mad stoked. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think who else in terms of bands and friends, and yeah, I don't know. I think really just like the old man bands. I'm hoping for some more Guts. I'm hoping for some Atheist. Yeah, I feel like I don't know any other. Yeah, dropping a dud. I don't have any other like anything like off the top of my head where I'm like, oh yeah, like I can't wait for this. Right? Do you? Do you know of anything like coming down the pipeline?
Nothing confirmed. Like, I have a lot of hopes. Like, bands that make sense to me just because it's been...
Blind Guardian.
Wait, didn't
Okay,
they just dropped one, didn't they? Yeah.
They put a single out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It was a single, but I love me some Blind Guardian, so.
Like, there are bands that have, like, a normal schedule that 2022 kind of falls on that schedule. Like Cattle Decapitation, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
I like the new Fit for an Autopsy single, so looking forward to checking that out. I'm a stand for Revocation, and I think it's been almost 3 years since their last album, so I assume they've been busy. I can't imagine Dave Davidson sitting around and not writing music.
Yeah.
And then, like, my number one hope, and this is totally, I have no insight into if this is real, but I want another Sludge album.
Your boys.
I know. Like, I know they've posted like they were doing stuff, but they've since gone quiet for a little while. I'm like, that better be for good reason. Like, you better be busy.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's Imaginations from the other side is amazing. So if they did an Imagination sounding record,
I would love the shit out of that. I love that album. Bring
good.
back that kind of power metal.
Yeah, I agree. There's no, I can't even think of any other power metal bands that sound like that, or at least like I guess I don't listen to enough power metal, but
yeah, I mean there are definitely huge power metal bands that I don't listen to just because I don't really listen to much power metal. Like Sabaton, I only learned embarrassingly recently is gigantic. I was like, right? They've been around for a minute. Like, how big are they? And they're like selling out giant theaters in the U.S. I'm like, wait, what? Who listens to Sabaton? Yeah, it's like everyone. I'm like,
who's going to the show?
Right. Everyone's like, you're the one who's wrong. I'm like, obviously I am.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird.
Yeah. I've been out of the power metal scene and it ran away from me.
I know. The only band I know that put out an album this year that I liked was that band Pharaoh. Not the Pharaoh from New Jersey that was like...
I was going to say the Basement guys?
Yeah, no. There's a Pharaoh from... I don't know where the hell they're from, but it's like the singer that was in Control Denied, which is like the band Chuck did after death. The guy who sang on that record sings in that band Pharaoh. And they put a record out this year, which is pretty good. It's like kind of like, just like classic power metal.
Interesting.
Like speedy thrash, kind of old Blind Guardian.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You know what I am excited for? The new Voivod album, because that single was awesome.
I was waiting for you to say that. I remember you talking about it the other day. You're like, this shit fucking rules.
Dude, it's so good. It sounds like Nothing Face, which is like one of my favorite Voivod albums. That guy Dan Mongrain is the best guitar player I've ever seen live.
He's a machine.
It's like
it's
amazing. He's amazing.
It's not fair. No, I shouldn't say it's not fair. But there are some people that whatever they touch, they make better. And when they leave it gets worse. And he is solidly one of those people. Not that Gorguts got worse. Yeah. Gorguts changed. When it was a different Gorguts when he left. They didn't get worse. But when he joins a band, it's not... You know like when a band gets a new singer, a new guitarist, or a new drummer, like you can sometimes hear a pretty solid change in a style. It's bound to happen. Dan Mongrain's one of those people that when he joins, the style changes and is never worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. The guy's amazing. He's just like super creative, amazing guitar player, like very friendly guy. Just seems like an all around A plus person. But it's like, yeah, it would have been sick to see if he would have like done more with Cryptopsy, because he was in Cryptopsy for a little bit, but it was only live.
Yeah.
And he never like played on any of the records. Which also like would be sick if there was a new Cryptopsy thing, because I did love those EPs.
I know they've been busy.
Yeah. Boy, you got the inside scoop.
I don't know that much, but I know they've been busy.
That'd be sick.
There's also what's it called? The Halo effect.
Oh, dude, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
It's pretty much In Flames with Michael Stahn.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I want to hear that. But it sounds like character and fiction era Dark Tranquility. So like this is really confusing on paper, but it's not bad at all.
Oh no, dude, I love that single. I sent it to Mike because Mike from Replicant and I are like huge In Flames, Dark Tranquility, like mellow death nerds from like that kind of golden era. And like I sent that song to him, and we were both like, "Oh my god, this sounds like Damage Done." It sounds like Damage Done, Dark Tranquility. I'm like, please sign me up.
Yeah, I heard it, and I was like, I'm in fucking high school again. Like this is so fucking cool.
I know it's like perfect because it's like the other band he just did, that Grand Cadaver, which is kind of like a Bloodbath, kind of like Swedish knockoff, like was like okay, but I'm like, all right, this doesn't need to exist. Like just do the In Flames thing. Like just stick to mellow death.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that definitely looking forward to that and the Voivod album because it sounds like Nothing Face, and yeah, maybe some of the old man bands coming up in new records would be sick.
Yeah, you hear that, old man bands? Get busy. Also, too, with Atheist, I think you might be onto something because all of their albums disappeared from streaming services a few months ago. So I wonder if maybe there's like a whole licensing going on in prep for a new album. Total speculation.
Yeah, I listened to there's a podcast called like Into the Necrosphere. I don't know if you've heard that one, and he interviewed Kelly a few weeks ago, and Kelly because he's got this other band called Till the Dirt, which is like kind of like a weird Meshuggah-y sounding band. They're about to release an album.
Huh.
Yeah, which is like the single was okay. It sounds like kind of Meshuggah.
It's not a style I would expect.
Yeah, no. But what was it? I think it's something to do with like they lost the rights to the albums from like the label, but then the label was like I don't know, something to do with like the label and having to like wait for like a certain amount of time to pass before they can get back onto Spotify. Some like stupid like kind of legalese thing, but. So I don't think it has anything to do with the new record, unfortunately.
Oh,
I'm just
balls.
hoping.
Womp.
Yeah.
All right. We have a chance
dude,
to see Nevermore one last time before they break up. Oh.
Ugh, brutal.
I know. But we get to pick the set list. What is it?
Well, it's definitely nothing from Obsidian Conspiracy.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure. Although,
can I just get the iVoyager DVD played live for me?
Right.
Or just all of this godless endeavor and enemies of reality. That's what I want.
Yeah. So I will say not like a cop-out answer, but I did see that Nevermore show. So like if you look at like Nevermore videos on YouTube, there's like the one show in Virginia where Chris Broderick was on second guitar, and like Loomis and Broderick had like that like shred off where it was. Yeah. So I was at that show.
I know.
And like me and Maddie, we drove down to Virginia to see that at Jack's, and I was on like the front row, and it was like right when this Godless Endeavor came out, and they played like it was like the set list was like just perfect, right? The only thing I would have liked more was like I love like the In Memory like EP. I would have loved to see them play like Optimist or Pessimist or Matricide or even the song In Memory. Like I love that shit. I also love like their first album a lot, like Gardens of Grey and what's it called? Sanity Assassin.
Yep. Oh, I haven't listened to those in a while.
Oh yeah, dude. The first Nevermore album is awesome.
Oh, I know. I have them all. I just haven't given it the time of day in a minute.
Yeah. So I don't know. My set list would be that set list from that show on the Godless Endeavor tour with like a few more choice cuts from In Memory and the self-titled.
I'll go with that too. I've only seen the Shred Off video, but I saw them. I've seen them twice. Did I see them twice? It was once or twice. Maybe only once. Ew. Oh, I was supposed to see them twice or a second time. And they broke up right before it.
So you only saw them once?
Only once.
Oh, dude, that's horrible. I think I saw them like 8 times.
but it was before Obsidian Conspiracy, so it was still like on that Godless Endeavor kick. There was no new songs. I was like, this is great. This is the best. And then Obsidian Conspiracy came out. I was like, I hope they don't play too much off that, but it'll be great to see them. And I didn't get to see them.
And no. Yeah, I want to say I saw them like 8 times, which is
oh my god, I wish.
I know. I was very fortunate. It's like they toured. It's like I saw them with Opeth and Into Eternity. I don't know if you remember that band.
I do.
That like power kind of death metal band from Canada.
Stu Block.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they played. With Steve Smith was in the band. Because he was on the Godless Endeavor.
Yep.
And it was like, it was Opeth and Nevermore. I saw that tour twice. And then I drove down to Jack's in Virginia twice to see them. And one was that Shred Off show. I saw them at that Gigantour they did at PNC with Megadeth.
I think you gave me my Nevermore shirt. Like that shirt is from that tour.
It is, dude. It is. It is from that show. Oh my god, it's so funny.
It barely says Gigantour on the back. That shirt's what, 20 years old now?
Oh, dude, yeah. That was like Gigantour, like 2005 maybe.
15 years, 16 years. That shirt is threadbare. That's a shirt like I don't wear anymore because I'm afraid it's not going to come back from the wash.
Yeah,
it's just going to fall apart.
Yeah, dude. The Opeth Nevermore Into Eternity show was at Gramercy. No, it was at Webster Hall. And I remember it so well because me and Conforti were at Rutgers, and we took a train to Penn Station, and like Monster Energy drinks were like doing like some kind of promo, and they were handing out like giant monsters. So like they gave us like, we took like 4 of them, like 2 each, and we were just like chugging. We were just like chugging like Monster Energy drinks and like sprinting to like Webster Hall. And like we got there like right when Into Eternity was starting, and like Into Eternity, Nevermore, and then Opeth was like headlining, and it was probably Ghost Reveries.
Yeah, that had to be Ghost Reveries.
Yeah. So it was like, but they only played like 4 songs. It was like it was like, like Opeth back then.
Every song's 12 minutes long.
Yeah. So like, it wasn't like a big show. So it wasn't like one of their like, where they're playing at like a theater with like dancers and shit. So they didn't get to play for like 2 hours. So it was like probably like 2 songs from Ghost Reveries, like Master's Apprentice and like Demon of the Fall.
Oh my god.
And then we were like, that's it? What the fuck?
Yeah. You just got here.
Yeah. But oh man, yeah, there was so many cool shows like back in like the mid 2000s at like Webster Hall, Gramercy, BB King's. Like BB King's used to do all those cool metal shows.
I think I went with you. We saw Enslaved and Arsis at BB King's, and there wasn't really anyone there. And BB King's had no like railing or gate in front of the stage either, so you could just like park your arms up on the stage, just hang out. I saw.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you were with me. It might have been that same show. Unexpect opened from Canada. And
you love that band.
I fucking love that band, and I didn't know it. Like they weren't advertised on the bill or the rider or anything. And we were giving our tickets, and I was like, "Wait, I know that song." And as soon as I stamped my ticket, I just bolted downstairs, and it was them. They had just started their first song, and their bassist played a 9-string bass back in 2006. Like no one did this. Not 2008. But the thing is gigantic. It is a monster of a bass. And there was one part of the show, he's holding it over the crowd and playing it, like real rock star moment. But the thing's got to weigh like 40 pounds, and his center of gravity was too far forward, and he just fell on me. Just off the stage, no security, no railing to like prop him up, just boom, on the floor. Got up, still going, and played the rest of the song on the floor.
Oh my god, dude. I think I was there for that. I don't remember that at all.
Oh, okay. I saw them there twice. Oh, that's funny. I miss clubs like that. I don't think BB King's is there anymore.
He fucking fell on you. I think it is, but it definitely doesn't do metal shows and shit. If it is still there.
Yeah, it was a weird venue for metal shows anyway. Like in Times Square, and like on the back of every metal show, they'd be handing out flyers for like church service on Sundays.
Oh my god, yeah, it's so funny. I saw Blind Guardian there actually.
Yeah.
BB King's. It was a twist in the myth.
I didn't see Blind Guardian. I saw like, I think 2 power metal shows there. We're back on power metal.
I know, right? It always comes back.
It's because we hung out the most in 2008.
I mean, yeah, we lived together.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh man, so fun.
Well, I think that's a good place to call it there. Pete, thank you
Definitely.
so much for hanging out. This was a lot of fun. Chat,
Yeah.
thank you for the questions. I hope you enjoyed it. Pete, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to have you back.
Oh yeah, man. Anytime. Had a blast.
Awesome.
Always love hanging and talking and catching up.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you came in late, this will be going up on YouTube probably in a day or two. So follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. Go check out Replicant, Malignant Reality, their new album on Transcending Obscurity Records. Pete, any last words before we sign off?
Thanks for having me. And remember, respect New Jersey or prepare for combat.
Perfect way to end it. Thanks all. Take it easy.
Peace.